The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Writer's Block Podcast NH. This is a podcast designed by writers for writers on the journey to being published. Joined Mandra Biscornet.
It was so healthy and nutritious.
Deborah Monk.
Can we open each podcast with a dance number?
Shelley Devlin.
It was so full of inspiration and sparkles.
Every Tuesday morning live on YouTube. And make sure you subscribe to catch the podcast anytime on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, or your favorite podcast catcher. It's time to be inspired, feel empowered, and be well with the Writer's Block Podcast NH.
And welcome to the Writer's Block. I'm Mandra.
I'm Debbie.
And I'm Shelley.
Thank you for joining us, where our mission is to inspire, empower, and to help people be well. We're streaming live on Facebook this Tuesday morning from the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. And if you are a lonely writer looking to find your tribe, or you think a night out with some other quirky writers sounds like a good idea, then today's show is for you. With us, we have Martha Stavrou to tell us about the New Hampshire Writers Project and Writers Night Out. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you. Martha is a creative writing instructor at the New Hampshire Institute for Art and co-owner of Deja Vu, an eclectic warehouse boutique in Londonderry, New Hampshire. So it sounds like we have talked before on the show how writing can be a solitary process and pretty lonely. But New Hampshire's Writers Project was created to kind of help create a community of writers.
Exactly.
So how did that get started?
I can't speak for New Hampshire Writers Project exactly, but the Writers Night Out was started after New Hampshire Writers Project, primarily to create a social environment for writers, because we do tend to lock ourselves away and, I think it impacts our ability to socialize with people. If you've ever met some writers, they can be a little odd, but
limited in the social skills department.
But it's difficult to find someone to bounce ideas off of, or to just spend time with that thinks the same way you do. And so we created these Writers' Night Out, and some of them are simply just that. They're just a social event. You don't have to bring any writing. You don't have to talk about your writing. You can talk about anything. Okay. But what the Derry one does, we like to have exercises. So we come in and we socialize, and we always bring food because,
What social event doesn't have food?
You got to have food.
Yeah.
And so then there's one person always that hosts that night. Each month, someone volunteers to either bring an exercise, or one night we just talked about what our favorite book was. What was the book in our childhood or in our early adulthood that really kickstarted our desire to be a writer? So that was one full conversation that lasted 2 hours.
How many people currently go to these events?
To the Derry one, we have about 15 to 20 people sometimes.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, so it's a pretty good sized crowd. And they're a variety of different styles of writers, different genres that, we have science fiction, we have short stories, we have, novelists, we have, people that do poetry primarily. So it's really a wide variety of writers.
What perfect place. An eclectic group of people at an eclectic
warehouse
boutique,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Is that where it's held?
That's where it's held.
Oh,
yes,
that's
it's held.
wonderful.
Yeah, we originally, and I don't mean to throw T-Bones under the bus, but we originally held it at T-Bones in Derry, and they were very accommodating. They were really nice, but we always felt like we would get loud and boisterous because we get excited about words and things. We're total nerds, and we just get, it gets a little out of control, believe it or not. I mean, the nerds do get wild.
Get a little rowdy with those writing.
So Someone else actually in the group had the idea, hey, would you mind holding it at your warehouse? And I was thinking, who'd want to come to my warehouse? And
Yes.
yeah, so it ended up being perfect because we can be loud and
my God.
obnoxious and talk about anything, not, edit our
I
conversation.
can totally imagine somebody coming up with a new murder mystery that night while they're at Deja Vu.
Yeah.
Killing
yes.
someone in the parking lot.
Yes.
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 No, actually killing someone in the parking lot. That's how they write it.
Any restrictions or qualifications on who can
No.
go? Like,
Okay. No, and then a lot of our writers are not necessarily published writers. They just really love to write, and they love talking about books and writing, and so you don't even have to be a member of the New Hampshire Writers Project, although we encourage it because the opportunities that affords you too is they have workshops and events, and some of the workshops are great. I've taken a couple of them.
okay.
Yeah.
So, Deb, are you going to be a nerd and bake a plate of cookies and go?
You know I am.
We love cookies.
You know I am. I'm going. The next one is
Yeah.
April 1st. And the way this happened is I went into Deja Vu because I was getting ready to film some more book promos. And I needed a kind of a funky chair. And that's the place to go. And I told the guy who was, walking me around, and he had actually, who is her husband, he had come to my house when we first moved to Hudson, when we downsized. He bought some of my old things that I'd painted. And so I knew they had funky things. So I went there and I told her husband what I was looking for, this chair for the video. And he said, "Oh, my wife's a writer. Look, we're having a writing slam tonight." Now, I was on my way to work, so I couldn't go. So I reached out to Martha. We started talking. And then she said, "Your name is awfully familiar." And she went to her bookshelf and she had my first book from when her husband was at my house picking up the furniture. He told me his wife was getting her master's in writing. And so I I grabbed my book and I signed it over to her. And she...
I love this network.
She said, "Are you Debbie Monk?" And I said, "She said, are you? I think you said, are you?
Yeah.
Are you the writer, Debbie?" And I thought, well, yeah,
The Debbie Monk.
exactly.
Are you the Deborah Monk?
And she said, "I have your book. I haven't read it yet," because of course she was in her master's.
I
had
was
a
in
lot to read.
graduate school when
Yeah.
I got it, and I was reading like 40 books a semester.
Of
And it
course.
was just like, okay.
But you just think, boy, the universe has conspired for us to meet. And so April 1st, it's already in my book, and Kelly and Rick are coming with me. And I know you're traveling. I don't know if Mandra's available.
Is that a Monday?
Yeah.
It is.
It's Monday night. Yeah. It's the first Monday of every month is when we have our meeting, unless it
okay.
falls near a holiday, and then we kind of either bump it out or do
So
something
will
different.
you continue to host it each month? Will it be at Deja Vu each month?
It will be at Deja Vu each month for now until,
You find a place that allows cigar smoking.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we can allow cigar smoking out in the parking lot.
Out in the parking lot?
Look over your
With
shoulder.
all the other second-class citizens.
And the murderers.
Getting ready to be murdered for the next murder mystery.
Everybody knows cigars are murder repellent. So I'm sorry.
murder repellent.
Oh.
Yes. Okay.
Good to know.
So anybody can go. Do you sometimes bring pages? Do people kind of know ahead of time what? Is there a topic or?
We've tried to, many of us have gotten there and said, "Oh, I didn't get the email." Well, you got the email. We just didn't read the email because it's
Correct.
buried under all our other emails that we really are supposed to be dealing with. So, I debated whether or not to send out an email for the April 1st one. And I might, but then some people show up panicked because some of us will be there with pages of written dialogue and a story, and others will be like, "Oh, I didn't do it. I didn't do my homework." So we never want to cause that feeling in anybody. So I'm going to hold back and wait until April 1st and make it a fun night.
And so then
no
do
one
you
feels
do the writing while you're there? Is that it? And then you talk
so
about it?
we give us, it's 7 to 9, so we have 2 hours. Some of us get there a little early, but we usually don't make the exercise last more than, 30 minutes because we want to have a good time. It's primarily to have a good time and talk about it. It's a no pressure situation, not to, no one's forced to do the exercise, but everybody dives in and has a good time. So
What would be an example of just one of your old exercises?
one of the last ones was a gentleman wrote a short, brief little piece of fiction, and then the last couple of lines were left up to the rest of us.
Oh,
and it was really actually because he left a really, he left
good
you
hook.
hanging. There was an old man who basically died in the restroom of a bar, and there was a slip of paper underneath his foot. And so you could take all of the information that you got earlier in the story and come up with a really cool ending. So you're basically writing the ending of
That's
the story.
interesting.
So there were some really good ones. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and remember when we did our class? Remember I was always trying to pick out who are the good writers?
Yes. Yes.
That's a perfect way. You're like, oh, that ending's good. Who wrote that one?
Yeah.
Right. That's a fun exercise.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. that
So
is a fun one.
do they all just end up in a basket and you pick them at random, or somebody stands up and reads
reads
theirs?
theirs?
No, we read what we write.
Oh, you read your own.
So you read your own. Yep.
Ah.
Yeah. And then we all kind of like pick it apart. We're pretty gentle,
What's game night like at your house? Is it just writing games all the time?
We don't do game night.
No?
We do games all day. By the time
Fair
we get
enough.
home, we're passing out in front of the TV.
Oh, God. Is it kind of the same group of people that come?
Yeah, we generally have, but we always welcome new members. I mean, we don't, it's always good to have new people. We've had, in fact, the last couple of meetings, we've had some new people and some old people who haven't been there in a while. So yeah, we're always looking for.
So you
fresh
just
blood.
show up with your plate of cookies and walk in the door?
You don't even have to come with food if you don't want to. You can just show up.
You don't need to
show up with
It's
your.
truly no pressure.
Yeah, it's no pressure, but
No pressure.
You don't want me showing up with no food, no writing,
you actually-
contribution,
Just a cigar.
just
smoke
just standing out in the
outside.
parking lot creepily staring into the windows.
Yeah.
But it sounds like something any of our listeners that are local.
Absolutely. You writers out there, you're looking for a tribe, you're looking for someone to hook up with, you're looking for just a night out just to get out,
Well, I don't think she means hookup.
Yeah. Well, no, this isn't Tinder, sorry. No.
There'll be no
wanna
bowl
be
with keys
careful.
in them.
Writer's Night Tinder, no.
Writer's Night Tinder. Now, there's
No.
a concept. Wow.
A whole
Yeah.
different podcast.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
I
Who
know.
would host
I
that?
might lose my membership. in New
Where the
Hampshire Writers
nerds go to hook up.
Hey, even nerds get horny.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my husband loves you, I'm sure. That's right.
Oh, Mandra, what do we got?
Yes.
Bring it back. I want to go back to actually the New Hampshire Writers Project. So that is something that there is a membership.
Yes, there is a
for.
membership.
So how does that
So if
work?
you go to NewHampshireWritersProject.org, on their homepage, there is a variety of levels of memberships. Your basic, which runs you about $55, household, which is 2 people, is $75. You can do patron for $100, and senior citizens, which I'm encroaching on at some point.
Well, I'll be there someday.
$25, and full-time students $25. So it's affordable, and they do have a great selection of workshops throughout the year that you get discounts on if you're a member, but you can still take if you're a non-member. So it's really open to everybody, and that's what's so great about it. They just want to really enhance the writing community in New Hampshire.
When you take those workshops, if you're a member, is it already paid for? And if you're a non-member, you pay a nominal
No,
fee?
you log in to your membership, and you pay a discounted price for the workshop.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And these are workshops, obviously, in the New Hampshire area, like
Yeah,
Manchester
they're
area.
usually held on the campus of SNHU, I believe. That's where the office is for the New Hampshire Writers Project.
Any other benefits to being a member?
Just the connections, it's a great group of people. Ed Ting is now, I think, running the Fiction Slam, which is what you fell across with my husband, the poster that was hanging there. He's a great guy. He was one of the winners in one of my first Fiction Slams for Derry. I just kind of fell into it myself, organizing the slam. I don't know why. I don't know how I ended up doing it. Just
You're a good organizer.
You're a leader, I guess.
A leader.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how I ended up doing half of what I do.
Mindless. Yeah. So, But I think if you're a writer in New Hampshire, I just think it's a great organization to be involved with.
Okay.
There are so many talented writers that you can meet. I think it's a great way if you're looking for a mentor. If you need a mentor or you need a critique partner.
That's what I'm thinking. If you need to kind of
group.
create your group,
Right.
that would
like
be
we have.
right.
Anyone in Epping, if there's anyone in Epping, Epping does not have an organizer for Writers' Night Out. So if there's anyone out there in Epping who would like to become an organizer for their Writers' Night Out,
So different cities of New Hampshire have
Yes,
the Writers'
yep.
Night Out.
We've got Alton, Concord, Derry, Epping. Well, not quite yet. The Lakes region, Lancaster, Lebanon, Manchester,
Great.
Nashua, Peterborough, and Portsmouth. So,
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard to.
Yeah.
I read that
sometimes
off
you-
a list. I did not know what I was talking.
Oh, that's great.
But it is. It's and any town can start one. It's not. So if there's a town out there that doesn't have a writer's night out, I encourage you to start one. It's just fun evening. It's a
And
really fun evening.
You can't put aside the fact that if you are going to consider yourself a writer, you've got to obviously be writing.
Yes.
You've got to be reading
Yes.
other people's writing.
Yes.
You've got to be talking about writing.
Yes.
And this is kind of the combination between
Yes.
writing and talking about writing, kind of being around like-minded people. And of course, you really should, and maybe not everybody writes for the same reasons, but you should be edited by somebody who's a better writer than you so that you have someone else to talk to and someone to learn from. But those are really the 4 keys to me of making yourself a better writer, and this is killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, exactly. I always leave.
Right. I'm sorry. And adding a social piece that
Yes.
sometimes is
Yeah.
missing when people are holed up in their office writing
Yeah.
for hours.
Writer's block. I mean, where
Right.
does that come from? I mean, you cut yourself off too much and you're only listening to yourself. Eventually you hit a wall. And I always leave our Monday night meetings like re-energized and just, wired. So,
Yeah.
I don't go to bed at 9 o'clock when I get home.
Well, it gets the creative juices flowing and the new ideas and
Exactly.
and a new energy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we need. I think in any craft, but,
Right.
especially in
Just
writing.
that inspiration.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Deb,
Yes.
do you have
I do.
a new
Actually,
segment
we
for
have
us?
a new segment today. We have a new segment brought to you by Well-Behaved Woman Coming Undone, which is available on Amazon.
That was a great segue, ladies. That was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
We were working on this. And today's word, I thought at first I thought I would go with really, very words that none of us know. And then I thought, no, go with the words that we all think we know, but we don't really know what they mean. So I'm going to test you girls. How about perfunctory? What? Oh, now Shelley's reading my note.
Shelley has her dictionary out.
I thought it meant punctual, but
Yeah, I thought it meant like shortened or...
yeah. It's a word we all should know. We think we know.
Right.
It's an adjective. It means carried out with minimum effort or reflection. So for those of you who don't want to
off
have
the
a
cuff would be
perfunctory...
Like off the cuff? Just
Uh,
synonym?
Or mindless.
Minimal effort.
Like just kind of going through the motions type of thing.
yeah, so I would say if you don't want to be a perfunctory writer, you should go to the Writer's Night Out. Dun-dun-dun.
Or be a
That
I
was
thought it
dynamite right up until your
Good
drum
job.
sound effects. That
Good
was
job.
great right up
She
until
was
then.
really
Thanks,
hoping
Martha.
for sound effects from you.
We are a work in progress,
gosh.
WIP.
Work in progress. I want to get back to one thing though that you said was the fiction slam.
Yes.
How does that work and what is it? You went to one?
No, that was the storytelling slam, but that was when I went to the store and it was in an
And you
hour
couldn't
and
do
I had
that
to go
one.
to
Okay.
work.
Okay.
Yeah. So the fiction slam or the storytelling slam is happens once a year, and it usually occurs. It's a regional. So each Writers' Night Out has their own fiction slam contest.
Okay.
And they usually happen between January and March, early March. So we have anyone can come in and compete. We usually have a cutoff of 10, but if we have 2 alternates just in case anyone drops out, and we always go for 11 just in case.
Yeah.
So each regional Writers' Night Out has their slam. The winner from each one of that then goes to the finals, which is held at the New Hampshire Institute of Art in Manchester at their French building. And the winner of that gets a check for about $250. And then they go to Writers' Day and they read their piece in front of everybody at Writers' Day, which is sometimes a pretty impressive audience.
And is that an assignment? Is it just a random short story? It can be about anything?
It's got to be 3 minutes or under. It can be about anything, any genre. We've had some really interesting ones. And it's a no holds bar, really. There's no,
Other than the 3 minutes?
Other than the 3
3
minutes.
minutes doesn't sound like enough time.
It doesn't.
No.
You know what?
You could do it, Jonathan.
I could
You'd
do
be
30
surprised.
minutes. Standing on my head with nothing prepared.
You'd be surprised how much you could pack into 3 minutes.
Right.
Well, you've got to pack a punch in that
Yes.
3 minutes if that's all you're going to get.
Exactly. You
Every
really
word
do.
counts.
Yep. Every word does count.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then when is Is this a yearly
Writers'
thing?
Day?
Yeah.
Writers' Day is a yearly thing, and it's usually I think it's the end of March. I don't have the exact date, but I want to say it's around the 29th. It's a Saturday.
Okay.
And
Is it in 2 weeks?
So, yeah, I want to say it's the 29th.
Okay.
And it is just a full day of writers giving workshops. And if you go on to the New Hampshire writersproject.org.
Writers' Day is April 14th,
Oh, boy, I was way off.
according to
That gives us a little more time to
the
prepare.
internets.
So, yeah.
Internet.
So, so if you can sign up there. And I'm not 100% sure what the fee is. It's somewhere in the 125, maybe a little more. But I mean, I went 1 year, and Andre Dubus III was there.
Wow.
Paul Harding, who wrote Tinkers, it's a Pulitzer, was. He was incredible. I sat in on his workshop, and it was just like I walked out of there in a daze. He was amazing, and then I had the opportunity again in graduate school to sit and listen to him speak. And
Are you going this year?
I cannot because I'm teaching.
Right.
So I'm going to be in the classroom, which
Got
is
it.
just as fun and just as exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
What a great community that I don't think we realize all the different parts that existed. And it sounds like all the information, if people do go to the New Hampshire writersproject.org, they can find
everything they need to know about
all these
writing
events.
in New Hampshire and all the events and all the opportunities and the connections that you can make. Yep.
Well, that is wonderful. Thank you so much, Martha, for coming on and
Thank you
letting
so
us
much
know
for
there's a
having
broader
me.
community out there that we uncovered.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. Please check out the Writer's Block NH Facebook. If you'd like to hear this episode again or share it with a friend, head on over to the UnitedPodcastNetwork.tv. You can find this podcast and the vodcast in case you'd like to watch it. And again, you can find all previous episodes on the UnitedPodcastNetwork.tv. May you be inspired, feel empowered, and be well.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.